Another week of ALGS Pro League is now in the books, and finally we're starting to see some of these top organizations and the teams that you are all expecting to do good finally solidify themselves as those dominating forces. For the last couple of weeks, we've been watching new up-and-coming teams take the world by storm and continuously show themselves as a force to be reckoned with. A lot of these teams were actually unsigned teams, so it's no surprise that some of these new up-and-comers will obviously shortly be signed. However, today is, especially for the North American region, no surprise to see one of the fan-favorited Falcons roster being able to win the second implementation of Pro League. So let's dive in and talk about what's going on inside of the entire world across all regions for Apex Legends Global Series and the Pro League, and who's looking solid going into the LAN in just a couple of weeks. Firstly, wanted to make mention of some broadcast, I don't know if you would call it issues or whatever, but Longshot has obviously been the official broadcast partner for ALGS for a very long time, specifically for the APAC South region. And unfortunately, it seems like with this whole unknown uncertainty for ALGS year 6 or year 5, what's going to happen for the rest of this year, what's happening next year, it looks like they're starting to make some changes, and Longshot is no longer going to be the main broadcast for APAC South. And so it kind of makes you wonder, well, where are we going here at some point? A lot of people have been pointing at Faceit or something, that we would go into some because they're already doing the multi-view with Faceit. Maybe Faceit is trying to get more involved with the tournaments and stuff. Like, back in the day, Faceit was really a big, force to be reckoned with inside of the world of, Counter-Strike and just esports in general. And a lot of people are wondering if we're getting away from this EA supported scene, like the leaks or, basically show, are we going to go back to this old MLG style, Faceit style esports scene in the future? Some people are excited for it, some not so much, but let's dive in and talk about the Pro League last night. Starting it off with the American region. If you haven't seen it already, yes, the Falcons have finally been able to win. And I say finally because they have not necessarily been struggling as a bad team, but they've not been your dominating number one team. I mean, you got world championships here on this roster between Hal and Zero alone. These guys are supposed to be the roster that wins literally everything, the super team, and they have not been super teaming it late. And even Zero basically saying, finally, I'm beating the washed allegations, we're back, and we finally were able to do something. Coming off of a big last game, might I add, as well. Here in match 6, they were obviously able to win. This kind of put them over that threshold as well. So first place, you got Falcons here. Virtus Pro also in second. Got to give it to them because I feel like this whole JMeyels is almost been like a up and comer himself, because he's like, yes, OG, been around forever, but Luz Slayer and Zach have basically kind of like reformed and renamed themselves as their identity inside of this Pro League. Because if you remember a couple of years ago, all three of these guys, well, Slayer obviously is kind of a little bit more new, but Zach and Lou basically were on the outskirts looking in, and we didn't know if they were still going to have a pro career in Apex for a while. And now they've been around in the top conversation for a while, so kudos to them. They've obviously been doing a pretty solid job. Stallions also, I feel like Alba's kind of been one of those guys where, he was trying to come back and compete, but it just wasn't working for him. Something about this year, man, they've really been a solid team. And you got to say, Enemy has been a great pickup. I feel like Enemy was such a good talent. I don't really know why the whole complexity thing went the way it did. I think Funk, obviously a great player, but Enemy is an also good talent as well. And it was just such a good pickup for Stallion. So I'm excited for those guys. Top 3, obviously, there. LG in 4th here. Flat also in 5th. Nice guys, Liquid Alienware, Oblivion, Ape Gang, and Nine Lives in your top 10. Obviously, Nine Lives, the former VSM that just recently got picked up. And then also you've got some, I guess you would say, some upsets here. Huss obviously winning the first week of Pro League in North America, and then not doing too great here inside the second week in 16th place. Complexity also down here with Kimchi, Monsoon, and Funk. Once again, obviously kind of, pinning that or connecting those dots back to the Stallions roster change as well. I think Enemy and Funk, both great, honestly, very similar players in their, slaying ability, controller skills. I think they're both very good controller players. Just, I don't know. That one still bothers me to this day, thinking about why that roster was ever changed. Also, with the band legend order, no surprise here. You're going through some of your obvious ones, right? Catalyst, Newcastle, Ash, Crypto, and Fuse banned in the first 5 matches. The Newcastle and Catalyst, obviously no surprise here in the first 2. It seems like those are going out very, very quickly. And then we jump into the EMEA region. And this one also had some upsets because you just had this announcement coming from NIP. 07 was kind of back. NIP itself was back. Nags coming back. Raven here as coach. And, Nasky is kind of had this hiatus for a while. Obviously, he came back. And you just kind of want to root for this roster just because of the history behind it. But unfortunately, things didn't go too well. They placed 16th as well. Not a good showing from them. But, at least if you like 07 and you miss Amphi and Nags and Nasky playing on the same team as each other, then, well, at least you have that. But unfortunately, no good results there coming out of the second week of Pro League. And then also Navi in first place. And this one's controversial in itself because they had left the scene. Obviously, we talked about this weeks ago for, the idea that, hey, we can't support, I guess, financially this roster that Matafi was trying to build and wanted to coach, and we can't do that. There was drama behind this whole exit. Navi basically left. We thought they're not coming back. They come back. They sign the former world champions, and here they are finishing in first place inside of Pro League as well. So congrats to them. Obviously, a very good showing for them. And then I thought this was very interesting as well. Go Next, obviously the world champion organization that had to let go of their roster because they couldn't pay the paycheck because these guys are obviously worth a good bit more now. They get second place with a very talented roster as well. But while I say very talented, I don't think anybody would have really predicted, this well of a performance here for Kinda and Henchman over, not saying they're bad, obviously, but over some of these other heavy hitting rosters out there that have consistently proven themselves time and time again. However, you've also got the whole, conundrum of EMEA being basically inconsistent besides Alliance. And if you're not Alliance and Alliance is not in this bracket, then God knows who's going to win. It's going to be basically somewhat different every time. Once again, same band legend, kind of predictions here. Ash, Newcastle, Catalyst, and Crypto all in your first four. A little bit of a caveat here, though. Bangalore in number 5. But that is your results here for the EMEA region. Navi, Go Next, Danish, 75% British, Aurora, Exo Clan, Reply Totem, VCGO. We talked about the upset with NIP, but also Cybercats as well. I felt like they would have performed a little bit better, but that is the name of the game at the end of the day. And then we talk about APAC North and where these results came in. Also a little bit of upsets and shocks, I guess you would say. But at some point, you got to stop calling it a shock. I feel like the whole POI draft band legend, ordeal and the meta change of the balances itself has shaked the game up so much that like the pros it's almost impossible for the same pros to still be the best because like the game is just totally different now. That's my opinion. We'll talk more about it in just a second. GHS Boom, though, able to take the win in first place here. Fnatic in second. No surprise, Fnatic. They're one of those that kind of, I guess, they would stand the test of time. Same way as Falcons as well. Yuka F. I think Yuka has just kind of always been in that conversation. Fnatic, though, in second. Reignite in third. RRX in fourth. Noob in fifth. LFT Army, Orb Garden, Interforce 36, Giver Euphoria, and Kinatrip Gaming in your top 10. The shock here that I had, though, no S Fox. I don't think I would have normally predicted this low. Red Rams this low. Meteor and Dead last. Man, whatever. I guess I can see, obviously, Bad Nice. But Riddle Order is one of those, Riddle just has so much backing for so long. They've got so many fans behind them. 14th is just not where you would typically have like these veteran of players, right? Taida, Malstera, and Saku. I just don't think that this is like this is not obviously the goal, and hopefully they get a little bit better over time. But I think APAC North is obviously behind a big organization and big names that have been in the scene for quite some time like that. And obviously with the skill gap consistently getting less and less between all of the regions, you want to be playing your best, of course, to where when that time comes for LAN, there's no conversation there. There's no worry or concern. Now let's also dive into the APAC South region and see the upsets and the congratulations that we have there as well. First place coming in at VK Gaming. Pretty big damage coming out of Q here, and really no surprise. I feel like this has been consistent with the history here. 21 kills on the night as well. Pretty insane. But 28 kills, might I say, from the or coming out of Hal. I mean, that guy was on one as well. So, got to give credit where credit is due. These guys are playing very good Apex right now. Dreamfire in second. I mean, and here we got 9 kills with 7k damage. So, obviously different play styles for each team, but also a lot of good, signs here from Jesco and Sharky and Legacy. These guys right here, 19k damage, the most damage in the entire lobby despite getting third place. Also, some of the least damage taken as well. I mean, 9k compared to 11 and 15k. These guys were playing very well. probably one of the scarier rosters that was involved with this lobby. Once again, the same trajectory here with Ash Newcastle. Ash Newcastle Catalyst are like given top 3 first ban legends. You should expect that nearly every game. And those teams that have those support heavy starts with Newcastle, or aggression heavy with Ash, or rotation heavy with Ash, whatever the case may be, those guys have got to get their wins out of the way up front, because if they don't capitalize on their strengths, obviously they're going to be struggling later on in the series. And so I think that's where you're going to start to get some of the consistency, is not necessarily making it to the late game every single time, or getting all the kills every single time like you would used to see back in the old days of Apex. It's making sure that you're going to be playing your strong suits as strong as you possibly can, and capitalizing on the games that you do have Newcastle, that you do have Ash, that you do have Catalyst, and then, obviously trying to make up ground for where your weaknesses are for after those legends have already been banned. Also, I purposely left this one out because I felt like this conversation has been brewing for a while. Obviously, you guys saw not long ago, Nocturnal had said he was LFT after the ALGS Open had been complete. He said, I've enjoyed my time off, but it's time to work, and now I'm LFT. Everybody's been obviously pointing fingers at the VDR roster, being that Reps basically said he wasn't going to be playing anymore for Split 1. They'd be coming back later for Split 2, but he's going to be taking that break off. Vax, Deeds, Reps, obviously not going to be a thing anymore. I think that everyone's kind of, expecting Noct to come in on this roster. We'll see, obviously, if they have any success. If that is the case, and if that roster change does happen, we'll keep you up to date right here on the channel. Like and subscribe if you guys want to stay up to date with everything going on inside the world of Apex Legends esports news. Of course, also, let me know what your thoughts are about the Pro League results down in the comments below. And until the next time, we'll see you all later.